I'm 21 years old, New Year's Eve party. I look at my phone, I get an eBay notification reminder about an auction ending in a couple hours. I bid. I bid about $200 more on an ASM 129 because I was a little intoxicated and I just really wanted it. But then I sent it to Russ. I sent him a picture after I won it. I'm like, dude, I got it for this much money. What do you think? And he goes, it'll be okay. There's a show coming up and we'll get that traded. And I immediately knew, oh crap, I paid way too much money for this. Do you know where I'm going with this story?
I do. I think the plot of the story is where we've all been, maybe all been, I know I've been, don't drink and bid.
Yes, 100%. But that book would end up being owned by you. And that trade would result in the first Golden Age comics I ever collected. Do you remember Meridian Park?
I do remember Meridian Park. A really small auditorium show at an elementary school out here. And I think it was every 3-4 months.
Yeah, it was like 3-4 months. There's like at least 4 of them a year in this gymnasium at this elementary school in Shoreline, Washington. They don't do it anymore, but what would you say, 30 or 40 tables or so?
Yeah, just maybe that. And then just something that anybody can come, anybody can set up, anybody can easily get in and just look through comics. And it was very consistent. You knew it was coming up and it'll be there. And it was there for many, many years. I only did it maybe 2-3 times. So for you to even catch me at one, that's rare in its own right.
I take this book, this ASM 129, and I'm about to trade it for some like low-grade X-Men. And then Russ came over. He's like, oh, I have a friend over there, and I think he'll trade you some cool books for it. Let me see what kind of deal I can work. So I remember looking at these X-Men books and the stack of what was Golden Age comics. I never owned Golden Age comics. And I'm like, I can get some X-Men or I can get this stack of comics. And I went with the gold. And that happened to be your trade. And that's actually how we met. So I bought those through Russ from you, that and as well as a Detective Comics 411. Do you remember that?
I do. I remember that. I remember you coming up here and Russ introducing you to me. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Friend named Tom, cool. Easy enough to remember, 3 letters. And I remember you kind of having this ASM 129, and I had some books, and I had just gotten them in. They were low grade, but really reasonable, and just some cool Golden Age stuff. And you kind of explained what was the situation. I was like, I could use a 129 in my inventory, so it was great. It worked out. You got some, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 books.
Oh, I got some really cool books. Before we get into what those books are, make sure to hit that sub button, make sure to hit that like button, and hit that notification bell. We put out a lot of content, but we're going to be talking Golden Age comics on the regular because we got the Golden Age Guru in the house. And this episode, I want to be focused on our first Golden Age collection finds because we're going to be making a lot of Golden Age content. There's so many places to start. But let's start it at the beginning with both of us because I'm new to Golden Age collecting. And this like stack of comics that you sold me was my first introduction to an era of comic books that I didn't even really know existed.
So the fact that I was able to provide you with your first Golden Age books is pretty exciting and amazing. And the fact that I built a relationship with you as well that's also standed through time and we're still friends and you enjoy the books and you got started with Golden Age. And it's exactly like you say. Golden Age is that thing in the background that you don't even know exists for most people.
Right.
Like you're familiar with silver, bronze. You'll go to a show, you'll look at a wall, and Golden Age might be up there, but that's just noise. You don't even see it.
It almost looks the same thing. I remember back when all I was focused on was silver and bronze, I'd see Golden Age almost as like, it's all the same. Like all the covers, like, yeah, they obviously look different, but I wouldn't look at them as closely as I do now to be able to like point out their brilliance because they are in their own individual way, every genre, which is one of the reasons why I enjoy Golden Age so much because there's really isn't any war comic books I can point to that I like from the Silver Age current than like Two-Fisted Tales, for example.
Didn't I trade you a bunch of EC books?
That's right. EC books. We had Two-Fisted Tales. We had Weird Science in there, Frontline Combat, Jack Davis goodness. And I didn't even know anything about these creators, anything about these books. But what I did know is that I needed to find out more because now that they're in my hand, the slightly oversized comic book that's a little worn because it's been read so much with just amazing detail on the cover, it got me interested. And I didn't even care if it was a war story that I didn't know about, that I didn't maybe have a passion for because I was so focused on hero stuff. But that got me into Golden Age and really started that bug for me. And now I'm like, oh, I want so much Golden Age. But we'll get into how we get into Golden Age in a bit. How did you get into Golden Age?
I got into Golden Age as a collector and a dealer, really, because when I was a dealer, I put myself out there to get collections. So I was always familiar with Bronze and Silver Age and Copper Age, and I knew it pretty well.
Do you remember your first collection that you got?
I do remember my first big collection that I got. And my first big collection was about 54 issues. And the entire run is 73. And it was almost a complete run of a title called Planet Comics. An amazing sci-fi title through the Golden Age. So when I saw these, I wasn't really that familiar. I didn't really know Golden Age that well. And I knew that it's something I wanted to buy and had to somehow make it work. So the story is really interesting with this because I met up with this gentleman and I put an ad out in local papers. And so I was sent out deep to meet up this guy. And I come to his house, all on the floor. There were pulps, probably about 40 to 50 pulps. There was about 70 comics. Most of them all, obviously, planets, like I mentioned, and then a couple other titles of just miscellaneous that were not interesting whatsoever.
How many comics or so?
So like I mentioned, like about 70, 75 comics. So I'm excited to get there and just look through them because I don't know what's here. I was told there's some old comics. So I'm going through and I'm like, wow, there's number 1, number 2, number 15. I mean, a plethora, almost the entire run. And
How does that even exist together?
Okay, so this guy tells me the story of how he got these comics. It's not like these were handed down to him. He got them because his neighbor or a neighbor of a neighbor was burning down a barn and he got whiff that there are comic books in there. Now, this guy wouldn't probably even save his grandma or his dog. Yet, he saw dollar signs in this burning barn, ran in, saved whatever he could, and found these comics that he saved. Okay? And so these books that he's pulling out are the Planet Comics, all these pulps, and this whole massive collection that was actually in pretty good shape. So I don't know what else was in that barn, but whatever it is gone. But these comics were saved from a fire in a barn. And this wasn't that long ago. I mean, we're talking like 7 years ago, maybe.
Interesting for a couple of reasons. One, that this box of comics lasted that long, like since the 40s in this barn in the first place. But now that they almost got burned in a barn and were saved by someone. That's crazy.
It is crazy. In these stories, I hear almost annually from multiple people, something being saved out of a dumpster, out of trash bags, out of donations. It's amazing how many books can still get tossed aside.
So how did you make this deal happen?
So making this deal was not easy. Apparently somebody else was already there once before, but they only bought like 2-3 comics. So I'm not sure what they got. But apparently with some other planets. But yet a 1 was there, a 2 was there. I mean, I still have a lot of them. I mean, I had, like I said, there was like 54. I think I kept about 15 to 20 of them. I sold the number 1, regret, but
it happens.
It happens. So, but trying to make this deal work, it wasn't easy. Even though the guy got them for free, he still wanted a good bit of money, at least in my mind's eye, because I wasn't that familiar with it. And spoke, talked, worked it out. I think I had to make a kind of a payment between 2 payments, but I got the books eventually, went through them, really did my research and realized, wow, these are some great books. And that's the part of the Golden Age. You don't know it until you are exposed to it. You don't know the value until you go through it. And despite value, the other interest is the scarcity. You're like, oh my gosh, I might not have a ton of value. I might not have an AF-15 here, but I have a book that maybe 25 other people maybe have. So it's also exciting just to have something that you don't think many people own.
What specifically about this particular collection turned you on to Golden Age?
So that's a great question. So Golden Age is awesome when you get exposed to it. And then once you do, it keeps you. You get attracted to it because of, A, the size of the books, the scarcity of the books.
There's so much art.
There is so much art.
Those guys were cranking out art. It's like, it's crazy to think about. Sorry to pause, but I'm getting a flashback here of like Jack Davis talking about like how he would like draw covers inside the waiting room to like get it to print. Like this is every panel that you see, every cover that's so amazing. It's like just a split second worth, like burst of inspiration that just went right into the page immediately because they had to get that to the printing press immediately because that was going to be their job if they didn't get this out there. So each one of these like works of art, you have to think it's like, it's just the most inspired piece that this person could come up with in that moment to feed their family. And you're looking at these just amazing comic books, and it's just like how you think, oh, these guys must have poured years of like of creativity to come up with like some of the most creative aspects of these books, when in reality, you're just getting the best of what is now the legendary artists of their time.
Yeah, they were not compensated well. I mean, it was a labor of love, and they had to fire through paper and pages like crazy. I mean, there's 64 pages in these comics. I mean, right now you have maybe 18, and I don't know how many are ads at this point in the book. So they're just firing through drawing after drawing and just getting stuff published and trying to make money off of pages and support themselves, like you said. So with these books, and the reason you get attracted to it is because like we mentioned, the artwork as well on it is so fascinating and beautiful, and the color use. It's just something that when you look at it and hold it in real life, it's different than holding this, right?
Turk's got to make an appearance in every video. I love it. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button. We have a bunch more gold to talk about. Jeff, do we have a question for the audience? Because I have a Two-Fisted Tales #1 reprint. And here's the thing. There's no Two-Fisted Tales #1. It starts at 18. But this is a reprint, and it starts at #1. It's a cool little short story. What's a good question we can have the audience put in the comment section below?
I got a question for you guys. If you had to have a superhero animal sidekick, what would it be and why?
I think this golden age comic book conversation needs to continue and happen more often. What do you think?
I think it should, and I think we should do something weekly to fill that golden age need that people have.
Comment down below to be entered to win that Two-Fisted Tales #1. And as always,
geek responsibly.
Enough said. Thanks so much for watching the video. Remember, if you shop on eBay and you hit the link below, rather than Feebay getting your full fee, we get half, and you can help support the podcast.